now Bly up with a 2-1 lead over Probe.
Yeah, doing really well for himself. Even the one game that he lost, Bly stayed in it for a very long time. It's almost discouraging for Probe here at this point. And I feel like we're witnessing StarCraft history in the making, Tasteless, as Bly becomes one of the biggest nemesis of Probe here, right before ours, if he was to win the series.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a chance that Probe can come back. Honestly, Game 3 was the oddest of the games, because it seemed like Probe had hidden everything strategically so effectively that even the very, very greatest players in the world would have lost to that, and Bly seemed to have just immediately identified what it was. Whether that's from their previous tournament experience, I'm not sure, but that was impressive. And, you know, that was Probe deviating from the way he played in Game 1 and 2. And to have that so handedly shut down puts Probe in a difficult spot. Does Probe want to try to get creative again? If Bly, in fact, does have such a good read on him? Or does Probe want to try to go the route of Game 1 and win a long, drawn-out econ match? And it looks like our game is now up. We are ready. This is Probe versus Bly, game number 4 in our last best of 5. And today, day 1 here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Introducing our player in the upper left, in the blue from Australia, he is Probe. And his opponent here in the bottom right in the red, with a 2-1 lead from Ukraine, he is Bly.
And last game, I would say, was the most kind of disheartening game that you could ever play, I feel like, where you sell your build to your opponent, it's all going well, or it feels like it's going well. You go for the attack and it's like, wait, what? He has the right counter to what I was doing without really having seen it? So it's going to be really tough for Probe to come back from that. He's going to have to stay very strong mentally, stick to his game plan, because usually when you head into a best of 5 like this, what's the first thing you do? You do the map vetoes. Then you know all the 5 maps that you could potentially play, and then you draw build orders on every single map that you might have to play against the opponent, including map 4 and 5. So I think you need to stick to the plan. Sometimes you can take more risks if you're up. Say if you're up 2-0, 2-1, maybe Bly could be the one here taking a risk, knowing that he would have another chance to win in the next map. But for Probe here, it's match points for his opponents. There is no room left for mistakes. He needs to pick his absolute best build that will give him the best chance to try and win here and take this to a final map.
I'm curious what the mindset now is of Probe, because there's really 2 options he has here. Either he can really take Game 3 seriously and decide that, in fact, he should not try to play a sneaky game against his opponent, Bly, or he should treat Game 3 like it was a fluke and it didn't matter, and then, like you were saying, go stick with your original plan. And I guess we're going to get a better idea of what that is as this game continues to unfold.
He's kind of boosting an Adept here, so might want to get aggressive with double Adept, but against somebody like Bly that always opens link speeds, it's a little bit risky. If these Adepts get caught, it's going to be kind of the beginning of the end. Like Bly is going to be on the counter attack, he might be able to link flood you, like he link floods like nobody else. So you need to be very careful here with those 2 guys. Might just be a fake, like I mean he knows that Bly will see this chrono boost, and as we see the Stargate Opener here once again from the Potos player as a choice.
We see that Adept now headed over here towards the center right. Stargate is about halfway complete, and this is ideally to apply pressure on the Zerg, because Zerg, ideally, in a perfect game, you'd just get as many workers as you could right away without getting any attacking units. But of course, if you were to do that against somebody who's smart like Probe, he's just going to end up putting pressure on and killing you. So Probe tries to put as much pressure on without actually losing any of his units to keep Bly honest.
He's going to let that shade through. He wanted to make sure that that pocket expansion was being taken. So again, this is part of taking the information here. I mean, against somebody like Bly, if there was no hatchery here going up on that pocket expansion, you would have had to go on high alert. You know, ring the alarm, like something's coming and it's going to hit hard. But now, he not only saw there was a hatchery, he checked the drone count on natural and he saw that Bly was building exclusively walkers. So that's going to make him feel very safe. He can build up his own economy, probably take his own pocket expansion if he wants to, unless he wants to try and take the other one out on the map. As he kills that one overlord there. Now is the time to start his tech if he wants to do something sneaky, but I don't think Probe has to necessarily.
Okay, so we're seeing the Robo come down now, and as you were saying, Todd, this is a key moment here because for the first time now, Bly's effectively in the dark, and that's usually where the Protoss player we get to see if they do have any intentions of deviating from what would be, at least in 2018, a more orthodox game of StarCraft 2. As you can see, though, Probe is going to continue now to try to drive back, whether it's Overlords or Zerglings on the ground or Creep Troopers.
Coming, by the way.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. An Oracle, I think, is now entering the main. If we can get a shot of the main base. Oh, there it is now. And so, yeah, he's going to keep try to keep everything back so that the map is as dark as possible here for Bly.
He tries and take the other base, not the pocket one. So that's going to be more out in the open.
This is quite ambitious.
And attackable. Against a Bly who's known for being aggressive and currently going for Hydralisk Den. So this could get dangerous here in a second for Probe. He's going to have to get the right tech behind this. It looks like he's getting the Robo Bay. There's no Spore in the main. Oh my god. This could kill a lot. He sees that there is a lot of Queens. He's hesitant. Probe going to get right in there, kill a bunch of drones and then get out.
Not quite executed that well back there. Not only did he not kill that many workers, but he also took a lot of damage on those Oracles. Back at home, Bly is running up here and try to do just as much damage as possible. But I have to say, Probe's handled this very nicely.
12 drones starting behind this here for Bly, who has no intention of staying on the lower worker count and massing units. He's taking a 4th base. He's playing tricky. That's his own way of playing tricky. He's known for aggression. He's like, you know what? Game 4, I'm up 2-1. I'm going to build up my economy. Kind of hope that you overreact. Actually loses an Oracle here, Probe. That's not ideal. Even tagging those Queens, that doesn't really achieve much. And behind the Colossus production that he's got going, we see a Twilight Council and a Forge. I have to wonder, is he going to go again into a Charge Lot High Templar quick transition without Blink Stalkers? Because last time, that put him in a lot of trouble against the Corruptors of Bly. But by the look of things here, we only have the Lurker then being added on for Bly and no Spire just yet. Which he could have afforded, to be honest, considering how rich he is right now.
Very true. Probe is continuing to survey this side of the map and get a read on just how fast Bly is growing.
He goes Blink. He adapted from the last time. Remember last time?
That's a good catch. I actually wouldn't have noticed that. Yeah, he is going for Blink here.
I think just massing Stalkers here would be great. You know, it would be like a very...
Do you think he's actually just going to try to do a push then? Once he has that set
with
up with the
Robo,
Colossus?
it's possible. I mean, every time that I say that, they just sit back and take more bases.
No,
but
that's what happens to me too. That's why I'm double checking with you. A lot of times I say that and I'm like, oh gosh. I guess the approach is a little bit different now.
I think no. I think you don't have to. Like, it just makes you very safe against anything to have Blink Stalkers and Colossi.
Well, you know, and on some level that makes a lot of sense against Bly, who's just so good at picking fights, even if it's on his opponent's side of the map. And we're at that phase now where Bly's starting to test the waters here to see, okay, is your army really positioned correctly here? Probe is playing a safe game, and it seems like Probe is attempting to force this game in the direction that we saw Game 1 go into, where Probe played more of a proper StarCraft game where it was really a war of who controls the map and not a war of who can get out of throw the other player out of position at their base.
This is the biggest safe move out, by the way, or like fake move out here that there was for a long time. Because Bly went there with the just Hydralisk and Lynx. He attacked those rocks there, and I think he was hoping for Probe to see that and kind of overreact for a little bit and think, oh my god, there's a lot of Hydralisk coming to attack me. But no, actually, it was just to morph lurkers across the map so that they can already be there and then do a siege eventually when Bly rejoins this with the rest of his army, which right now is not that big, to be honest. He's built up his economy, mostly 77 walkers to 69. He would like to do a safe siege, but Colossi, they shoot from very far. Where's the Oracle for the tag here?
I think it's actually just south of this, but I'm not sure. There it is. Yeah, it's down there. It looks like... great job there trapping that. So he denies one attack handedly.
And now he has an observer here for this.
Yeah, I don't think Bly's going to get any footing here. He actually...
Get the hell on out of there.
Yeah, he needs to evacuate because there's no way...
Oh, this is Bly for you. 16 mutas are going to start. He's like, you want to go for mass Colossi, you're going to counter ground perfectly. What are you not going to counter? Mass air and mutas. He's just gonna fly from one base to another, try and force a base trade, make this a chaotic game. Even in those games where Probe is doing so well, Bly finds a way to make this a chaotic game.
And this is really quite genius because, okay, well, hold on. Bly actually needs to be careful to not lose this army down here. The mutas can still win the game, but this is
very bad, actually, for these guys to get caught like this, because now Bly is gonna having to run...
He needs to get his ground army out of there.
And Probe's going to attack. This is the best thing that he could have done against this, not knowing that this is coming.
So he's about to get ambushed by air so hard, and he doesn't really have a direct counter. Excuse me, Bly's going to go all the way around the map.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to try to fight the army in the middle of the map, but he's just going to come in here. And in this case, he can actually take out almost everything. So Probe will then have to decide, does he want to go back home and try to defend, or does he want to try to wipe out Bly's side of the map?
I don't think, if he recalls, it's a big mistake here. I don't think recalling is the way. He has to attack. He might be afraid of the lurkers. He's moving around. Where is he going? Maybe to that right-hand side base, but Probe needs to be quicker. He's losing his entire economy right now.
Yeah, Probe is already taking so much damage, and Bly... Probe has not even started his own attack yet. We've already had 27 workers killed off here as Probe is scrambling to try to get them into a safe position. Bly sets up in a very good defensive, just a hold here. I think it's still possible for Probe to break it, but the rate at which Probe is taking damage might just be too high.
Yeah, he's trying to get enough units back at home to secure some of his bases. We've got cannons and shield batteries here. Instead of that forward base, Stalkers are going to come there. The Archon is trapped in the wall here. The Stalkers cannot deal with this by themselves. Whereas the siege on the other side is still proceeding here from Probe.
Okay, so Probe did manage to destroy that base, but now he's going to try to force himself all the way through into this position, which means he's going to be taking a lot of damage. I just don't know if he can do it. And from here, there's been so much additional damage. We now see 11 more Mutalisks about to be added to the air army here. As Bly is probably confident he can pretty much close this out. He just has to hang on. In a little bit here, there's a high chance that Bly is going to fly back with these mutants and maybe try to take out the rest of this army on his side of the map.
Yeah, Probe's economy is in shambles here, especially gas-wise. He's struggling to mine as much as he once did. Trying to buy himself some time here thanks to that force base and those shield batteries, but Mutas are going to keep on flying across the map, and Bly is buying so much time on his side of the map thanks to the lurkers here. He's combined them with spore crawlers, which basically deny the observer from going too far forward and detecting the lurkers, so that's very well done by Bly. Okay, Probe is only mining from one base right now.
Yeah, this is the last location where Probe is sucking resources up at, and there's really no way. It's just the rate at which Bly is getting an air army. Probe cannot get an anti-air army fast enough, and this is almost checkmate here.
I think Bly eventually might just fly back and fight the army, because then there wouldn't be enough Stalkers to deal with those Mutas, but right now he's bullying that base, taking out all the economy of his opponent, camping on the high ground on his side of the map with lurkers.
And as you can see, even though Probe's army is scary and must be respected, it's not doing the kind of lethal damage. And wow, he's going to go back home, which I feel like is too little too late.
Yeah, Bly just flew away.
Yeah,
he doesn't care.
Bly will just leave. He doesn't have to.
He's going to keep on flying away from one base to another, shutting down the economy of Probe entirely, which is almost ironic considering his nickname.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's now only 20 workers remaining here in this game. It seems like even with all these Stalkers now sent back home, it's not going to be enough. And GG, Bly wins this series 3-1. Very impressive play coming from Bly, showing in this case history does repeat itself. Probe has consistently fallen to Bly in tournaments past, and Bly really flexing his muscle as a tactician in StarCraft 2. Not just that, but I think a mind reader in Game 3. He just completely shut down the attempted timing attack there from Probe. And despite that awesome Game 1 from Probe, there's a reason why we make these guys play a best of 5 and not just one game, is they have opportunities to learn about each other and discover different strategies and techniques and try to win in the long run.
Absolutely. That was a good match there coming out from Bly in the end. The funny thing is that, yes, as much as he seemed to like lurkers so much in a lot of those games, which were effective for him in most of the positions that he was in, he always seems to fall back to that kind of Mutalist play, doesn't he, Todd? When he kind of feels in a little bit of trouble, maybe it's kind of his finishing blow to go in on a lot of series.
Bly, actually, for a long time, he was one of those guys that almost every single game will go for Mutalisks. Yeah. And he got the best practice in those kind of base trades, that decision-making of going for the counter-attack. But in this game, just the decision of going for the Mutalisks was brilliant, because all Probe was doing is trying to counter full ground, because that's what he had to try and face in the previous game. So Bly was like, you're going Mass Colossi. Hold on a second. Let me make that one unit that's going to put you in real big trouble there with the extra mobility in the Mutalisk. And Probe just was not ready. He tried to go for a counter siege, which Bly already knew about even before it happened, because he knew that there was gonna be the potential for that. He had the lurkers in position, wins the game.
And I feel you said it very well, Nick, which is the masterful tactician version of Bly here. You sell stories from one game to the other, then you get able to mix it up later on with that kind of Mutalisk play. It's a very powerful strategy to employ across a whole series, I feel.
Yeah, and I think it shows the real strength of being a veteran in StarCraft. We've talked a little bit about maybe Bly isn't the best Zerg player in a more traditional StarCraft game, or maybe the way that most players are playing now in 2018. But that doesn't always have to matter. With the amount of experience that Bly has had traveling around the world, fighting such a big variety of players, it seems like he just knew, even after the bumpy game one, how to mix it up and juke and jive strategically through those 4 games, that it didn't really matter how solid of a player Probe was. He was too sneaky.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It seems that our interview is ready, so let's head over to Smix, who's with Bly.
Congratulations, Bly. You've made it here to the top 8 in PyeongChang, and it's your first top 8 since Leipzig 2 years ago. So what does it mean to you to be finally back in the quarterfinals?
I was working quite a lot for this, and I felt like I should go far. And like a few weeks ago, I should go far, but I failed a bit. And since today I made it, I'm really happy that my practice paying off again and again.
Is that why after the loss on map 1 you were so upset? Because after that loss, the camera zoomed in on your face and you looked really upset and you were rubbing your face a lot. So walk us through what was going in your head at the time.
I was kind of ahead this game, and I felt like it's in my pocket already, and I was like, oh, just clean sweep and I win. But I did a few mistakes here and there, and then it was really hard to come back. I did try really hard to bring like 200 supply army to normal level, but didn't happen, and I was kind of panic about it because game 1 of best of 5, can I lose it? Like, I was sure that I have an upper hand in this match, and losing 1-0-1 is a bit hard.
Well, fortunately, you were able to win the next 3 maps to win the series, and you maintain your undefeated record against Probe. And now you're in the quarterfinals, and you're going up against a very special Terran player. So what are your thoughts on Juanito?
We did play like a while ago, almost a year ago, and he was so sure in his form, and like I was so sure that I'm gonna lose and stuff. And the series go like very close 3-2, and I like just a bit and I would win it. And I feel like he's still confident in his shape, but I am confident too. So maybe this time I can take it.
That's really great to hear. Congratulations again, Bly, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations to Bly, moving through into the quarterfinals, representing the Ukraine, and I'm sure his dad is proud as well at home. To my left-hand side, Pig and Artosis once again here. Bly showing a lot of lurker play, but again with that little bit of cheeky flair at the end with the Mutalisks.
Yeah, the mind games are real. You see Mutas, you're playing against the Colossus tech, you know. That's a little bit tricky.
Right.
Stalkers aren't going to deal with those Mutalisks as well. They're just so mobile. They're just so all over the place.
Yeah.
So Bly does show, as Tasis was saying, you know, his mind games, his power of tricking somebody by switching it up throughout the series. That was a real benefit to him there.
Yeah. It's not like all Zergs have this same kind of level of, you know, we're going to mix things up. You know, Pig, you've been able to study a lot of these Zerg players and how they've been. You've been in the mind of these Zerg players as well. And Bly is kind of that special tactician to kind of just mix things up on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, I love what Nick was saying. He's got experience in these situations.
Yeah.
He's the guy who anyone else is getting their lurkers chased across the map in that final game. They panic. Bly just knuckles down, says, I've been here many times before. I'm the base trade master.
Right.
Great Mutalisk control in the chaos. I loved what I saw from him there.
In fact, Pig, let's go and take a look at some of these kind of moments that we have in this series, because there is a lot of things going on that maybe some people aren't aware of, just looking at it as a layman's terms.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look here at this final game, of course. This is the one where, you know, Bly was just all over it with these Mutalisks flying across, and we kind of saw Probe. He looked like he was in a powerful position, but he's indecisive with his army there. So we saw the army from Probe the commentators were saying it's going to go in, it's going to decisively push, and Bly's not ready for it.
Right.
But it didn't. It took its time. So we jump ahead a little bit here, and we see that still Probe wasn't really able to crack through. The Mutalisks were bouncing around. Bly showing a lot of experience, and he used this moment of hesitation from Probe to reinforce his defense. So we're going to see in a moment, Probe realizes he's got to push in with that army, but he's given Bly too much time, and we see here he feels forced. He tries to use some cute hallucinations, but look at the arc of Lurkers. If we just pause there for a moment, you could see there that there was a Spore Crawler down here, which actually sniped the Observer. We didn't catch that on screen, but that was super key. Because of that, there wasn't any detection left in this army. Oh, this guy actually, there he is. There's the Observer up there. But he actually gets sniped down in just a few moments as well. And because of the Lurker concave, we could see they were kind of spread down in this arc. They just had a great angle for doing damage. So if we just resume that now, and we can see Probe kind of goes in, he runs away with all of his Archons gone, all of his units are out of shields, and these Mutalisks just perfectly controlled, avoided the cannons, and they just ran amok in the Protoss base.
Ran amok.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a wilderness documentary with you saying, where's that little guy there? Having your lovely Australian accent to accompany it.
Yeah, these Mutalisks are out of control, mate.
Out of control. I love it. I love it. So is that all for this series to show us? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. This is just rounding out now, this clip. But that's about it there. I mean, it was just great kind of staying calm under pressure from Bly, and that really told the story of that series.
Right. I've got to ask you, Artosis, if you are a Protoss player in a position where you see those Mutalisks a little bit earlier than, you know, say Probe did in that situation, what's better ways to actually respond to that kind of Mutalisk attack?
Units actually at home. You have to have either Stalkers there, or some Archons sitting around, maybe even make some Phoenixes. But when the Mutalisks first got there, he was completely unprepared.
Right.
All of his units were out on the map, and if the Mutalisks have, you know, a good minute to themselves, it's going to destroy your economy.
Yeah, bit of a hard time indeed. So unfortunate for Probe, kind of bombing out of the tournament there in that situation. But no doubt we're going to see a lot more of him. He is in the Australian region, the guy that a lot of people are looking to as a good hope for the region, right?
You know, he's committing a lot more to the game. He's going into a more serious practice regimen, but it's also something he's not used to. He's brand new to it, and we often see this with players when they go from being a part-time player who's studying and practicing on the side to playing full-time. There's an adjustment period. I think Probe's going through that right now. I think we're going to see him bounce back very strongly around the middle of this year. We're going to see him really start to establish himself and hopefully come back and get some very nice results.
All right. Well, good job by Bly, of course, being able to push himself on into that round of 8. He's going to be going up against Special tomorrow. In fact, I think we can look at the bracket and kind of get you guys as up to date as to where everything is going on in that section, because obviously Bly going up against someone like Special is quite a hard road to take a look at. So looking at those round of 8 games there, where you've got things like Elaser, Zest, you've got yourself Scarlet going to be going up against Serral. If we zoom in there, you can see Kelazur versus SOS, and then finally at the bottom you've got Bly going up against Special. Who in those round of 8 matches, who really stands out to you guys?
I tell you, those are some really fantastic matches. I think that Scarlet Serral, that's going to be a killer match tomorrow. These are two of the absolute best Zergs in the entire world that are both specifically very good at playing Zerg versus Zerg. So I feel like that can go absolutely either way.
How about you, Pig?
For me, it's got to be a Laser Zest. I know it's not really too creative to say, hey, look, I'm excited to see Zest, one of the best Protoss Korean players playing against one of the best European Zerg players.
Yeah.
But I love the matchup of their styles, the macro-centric defensive Zest, the very aggressive Zerg player in a Laser who's been busting out those Hydralisk attacks very early on in his matches against Nice earlier today. It's going to be a great match.
Of course, I do have to recap you guys on one more series that actually went down throughout the day. We don't want to leave you guys unfinished there at the home, as obviously you want to be kept up to date with all of the series that are going on. So Rotterdam, what have you got for me?
Well, Dan already said it. Serral is one of the absolute best Zerg versus Zerg players in the world, and he showed that once again. We can actually pause this real quick because it was a short series, James. I don't know what I have today, but it's the second time I do the recap, and it's the second time. It was a very quick one. Serral has not lost a ZVZ offline since Montreal last year. That's 6-7 months ago, and he actually played like 9-10 series against some of the best Zergs in the foreign scene. Game number 1, X tried to get, maybe cheeky is the right word to describe it. He stayed on 14, 15 drones, 15 it is, and he was hiding a bunch of Zerglings, and he's like, all right, I'm going to flood him, I'm going to run over. But if there is one thing, well, actually, Serral's pretty good in everything. He doesn't really have many weaknesses, but I think what it really sets him apart from almost all the other European Zergs is that his scouting is magnificent. You can't trick this guy. If you want to beat him, you got to do it like some of the Korean Terrans have done it in the past. You got to straight out outplay or straight up outplay Serral. Tricking him is not going to work. We can see here in game number 1. Look at this hold, James. We can continue the stream right now. He makes it look easy, creates a little bit of a wall for himself on the high ground. More Banes on the high ground. One of the Banelings soon will get a pretty juicy connection. That's 6-7 links, and suddenly this is not that scary anymore. The army supply is 2, while X is down 9 workers. He's all in. He knows it. We'll continue making on some units, but in the end, there's no way he's ever going to make this work. And we can once again pause this a little bit in the start of game 2, because I just want to... Hold on. So that was game number 1.
Yep. Yep.
You know, you agree with everything?
Yep.
You're feeling it?
I'm feeling it.
You're feeling the Serral hype?
That's right. Serral's a good game.
All right, so game number 2, Catalyst, one of the smaller maps in our current map pool. X, once again, tries to, like, cheeky, tries to be smart, or tries to outsmart Serral, and he goes for a 12 pool, while Serral went for a hatchery first, with a relatively quick spawning pool behind it. Now, no matter normally how good you are, there's always that scenario where you fight Zerglings with drones. It's pretty tough, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look how tough it is. This is Serral in action. Buys time. Obviously, Serral right now, all he needs to do is buy time, keep his hatchery alive. Look at these drones. It's just, they're not dying. He's dancing back and forth. He will end up losing 1 drone against this 12 pool. 1 drone, James. That is
impressive.
As clean as it ever gets. And now you're looking at a 2-base Zerg with speed against a 1-base Zerg, or at least the hatchery was coming up behind it. X eventually tried to get fancy with a bunch of Zerglings, but when your opponent's got more roaches than you have Zerglings, even if you have 3-3, that's probably not going to play out well for you. As you can see from these first 2 games, it was just total domination. Game number 3 didn't look much different. It was just a very quick game, as X tapped out here as well. The last map was an acid plant, where X once again, you know, actually this time he opened up sort of macro-oriented. Serral did the same thing, so I was like, we have a little bit of a dance, and you see them microing back and forth, but Serral wouldn't be Serral if you see a little pop-up here, bam. And that is 6 drones. That just, as I tapped on the screen, and now suddenly the screen is very small. There we go. Anyway, there were 6 drones got sniped while these battles were going on, so it was kind of a close fight back and forth. But Serral always does more than one thing. He runs 2 Banelings into the natural kill, 6 drones, and yeah, that game ends actually just a few minutes later. It's 6-minute game, 5-minute game, 6-minute game. Serral did what we expected him to do, but he did it in the cleanest way possible.
Well, thank you very much, Roddy. It looks like Serral an absolute killer here for the Intel Extreme Masters. Gentlemen, do you kind of share those same sentiments? Serral obviously looking very, very good from his WCS win.
You know what? Eggs came in as a big underdog, no question about that. He's a player that we've seen rising over the last about year and a half. We've seen his name popping up, but it doesn't seem like he's quite ready yet for Serral, who we laud as one of the greatest.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And actually, now with that done, with that concluded, we can take a look at the schedule for tomorrow and get you up to date with how things are going to be going on tomorrow with all of the games. We're going to have 4 games tomorrow, in fact, which is going to be all the round of 8 matches. And I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to start from the top of the bracket and go all the way down to the bottom of the bracket. And it does look like that is the case. So some very good games. You guys already highlighted what you kind of look as to be the up-and-coming, really strong matches of that day. I want to ask you about something like Kellezer versus SOS. SOS, obviously, Mr. $100,000 dollar sign.
Yeah.
He's quite the winner when it comes to StarCraft 2.
I mean, he's won $300,000 prize pool tournaments.
Right.
The guy is one of the winningest, 2-time world champion. You go on and on and on about him. He's favored. He probably should win the tournament. But Kellezer, he's a sneaky one. He's very aggressive, and when you get aggressive like that, things can go very well for you.
And he's had success. It's been a long day. Versus Koreans in the past, hasn't he, Pig?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the Terran versus Terran matchup, I think is where Kellezer has made most of his sort of surprise wins and occasional Terran versus Zergs. But his TVP is nothing to be scoffed at because, as Dan said, he's a player who doesn't fear playing aggressive. He invented a lot of crazy proxy builds himself. And you add to that the fact that, you know, he's taken down players like Showtime and Neeb in big macro games before. I think here against SOS, it's going to be an interesting game because SOS isn't your standard Protoss. He's a bit of a wild guy. And when their styles clash, I think we're going to have interesting games no matter which way it goes.
Yeah, we've got a great top 8 here for the Intel Extreme Masters PyeongChang. And that does it for day number 1, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a historic day for StarCraft 2 as we lead up to the Winter Olympics here in PyeongChang. Join us tomorrow as we get back to things. Same time, same place, 12 local time for day number 2 of the Intel Extreme Masters PyeongChang.